Yesterday, I began a series of videos simply entitled A Christian's Guide to Voting. And as we began yesterday, I made this statement. As we approach the election, don't vote issues that are important to you, but rather vote issues that are important to God. Go back and watch that video if you haven't had a chance to do that. But the issues that are important to God are the issues that we should be concerned about. The number one issue that we'll talk about today, and I've got a couple of more videos coming along, but the number one issue that I'd like to present that is important to God is the issue of the sanctity of life. The sanctity of life. I believe that of all of the issues that God cares about, the sanctity, the value of human life is right at the top of the list. As Christians, we know that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, in fact, died on the cross, murdered by His creation, so that He could pay the price for our sin, so that humanity, the life that God gave, that He created, that He provided, could be redeemed and reconciled to Him. That's how important human life is to God. We could look at the Bible and go all the way back to the beginning and understand that in the beginning, God created. He created a bunch of stuff. He spoke it into being. But when it came to humans, He kneeled down. He picked up the dirt on the ground and created out of it man and breathed from His own mouth life. That's how valuable human life is to God. We could look historically and across the generations. Those nations that have devalued human life are nations that walked away from God and that also lost His blessing. But beyond any of those things, a nation that does not value life, particularly the life of the unborn, certainly does not value the lives of those who have no usefulness in society. When we say that the unborn, those who cannot protect themselves, have no value, that they are not worth protecting, then who is it that we should protect? Does any life then have value? I would argue not. In the United States, there are more than 600,000 abortions performed every year. We don't know the exact number, but within a pretty close proximity, we know it was more than 600,000 a year. Since 1973, when Roe v. Wade was finally approved by the Supreme Court, that process that approved abortion, that made it legal in the United States, more than 60 million babies have been killed. When we talk about the issues that are important to God, and I realize there are a lot of issues, a lot of things, a lot of conversations that are being had right now that are important as we get to the election. But I would argue there is no issue as important that rises to the same level of the sanctity, the value of human life. If we sincerely desire, as I mentioned yesterday, to think biblically, not emotionally, not culturally, what is culture telling us to do? Not politically, what are the politicians telling us to do? But biblically, we would have to step back and say the big issue on the table right now and the big issue in this election upcoming is whether or not we as a nation value the lives of the unborn and the born and those who are on the other end of the spectrum who, because of age and ailment, no longer serve a purpose. Do we value life? The last 12 months have been significant in this regard as states across our country have made not just abortion in the first or second trimester legal, but certainly the third trimester and partial birth abortion as the baby is being born, and even beyond, we're having these conversations. Here's the question: do you value life? Then as you approach the election, I would encourage you with the same thing I encouraged you with yesterday. Don't vote the issues that are important to you, but rather vote the issues that are important to God. Issue number one, the sanctity of life.